The humid air of Umuofia buzzed with the rhythmic songs of crickets as the villagers retired to their huts. That night, Adaeze came into the world under the pale light of a full moon. Her wails pierced the silent night, but her mother, Ezinne, refused to embrace her. Adaeze, with her strikingly innocent eyes and soft cooes, was rejected before she had a chance to live. Ezinne had been promised a son by a soothsayer, and her dreams of grandeur rested upon it. But Adaeze was not the son she had prayed for. A girl child. Ezinne spat, her voice sharp and unyielding. You will bring me no honor, no wealth, no legacy. In the darkest hours of the night, Ezinne carried the newborn deep into the forest. The child squirmed and whimpered, but her cries softened as if pleading for mercy. Ezinne's heart remained cold. She placed the baby under a broad, ancient Iroko tree, its roots gnarled and sprawling like the arms of an old guardian. Without a second glance, she turned and disappeared into the shadows. As dawn broke, the forest seemed to stir with life. The sunlight trickled through the thick canopy, and the air carried a strange stillness, as if the woods were holding their breath. A group of monkeys, chattering in the treetops, descended curiously toward the crying child. They circled her with wonder, their soft hoots blending with her faint sobs. Not far from the tree stood an old woman named Nneka, a healer who had lived on the outskirts of the village for decades. She was gathering herbs when she heard the muffled cries. Following the sound, she stumbled upon the tiny, helpless baby surrounded by the forest creatures. Who would leave such a delicate flower to wither in the wild? She murmured, scooping Adaeze into her arms. The child stopped crying, her big eyes locking with Nneka's, as if recognizing her savior. You will be called Umuofia, child of destiny, Nneka whispered. Nneka took Adaeze to her humble hut, raising her as her own. Though the villagers gossiped about the forest child, Nneka paid them no mind. She taught Adaeze the secrets of the herbs, the wisdom of the spirits, and the strength of the ancestors. As Adaeze grew, her beauty and grace captivated everyone who encountered her. Her caramel skin glowed like the sunlit earth, and her laughter echoed like the sweetest melody. But it was her sharp mind and kind heart that set her apart. By the time she was 12, Adaeze had mastered the art of healing, crafting potions and cures that even the most experienced herbalist couldn't replicate. News of her skills spread beyond Umuofia. Chiefs, traders, and even nobles traveled great distances to seek her remedies. In return, they showered her with gifts, golden bracelets, intricately woven fabrics, and even cattle. Adaeze's humble hut transformed into a thriving abode, filled with treasures that rivaled the wealthiest in the land. Nneka often watched her with pride, but there was a sadness in her eyes. Adaeze noticed it one evening as they sat by the fire. "Mama Nneka, why do you look so sorrowful?" she asked. Nneka hesitated before speaking. "The forest brought you to me, but it also holds secrets of your past," she said. "You are destined for greatness, Adaeze, but the truth of your birth may one day find you." Years later, during a festival celebrating the yam harvest, Adaeze's fame reached the ears of Ezinne, now a struggling widow in Umuofia. Her 3 sons, who she had pinned all her hopes on, had grown into selfish and ungrateful men, squandering her wealth and leaving her in poverty. When she heard of the forest child, a healer with unmatched wisdom and riches, Ezinne grew curious. She attended the festival, her tattered wrapper and gaunt face contrasting sharply with the vibrant crowd. As she approached the main square, she saw Adaeze, now a young woman, sitting with grace and poise among the elders. Her golden jewelry sparkled in the sunlight, and her head was adorned with a coral crown. Ezinne gasped. She recognized the child she had abandoned, the same bright eyes, the same serene face. Overwhelmed with guilt and desperation, Ezinne pushed through the crowd and fell at Adaeze's feet. "My daughter," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "Forgive me. I was blind and foolish. I am your mother, and I have wronged you terribly." The crowd murmured in shock, their eyes darting between Ezinne and Adaeze. Adaeze rose to her feet, her expression unreadable. She looked down at the woman who had cast her away without a second thought. "You are the one who abandoned me in the forest?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "Yes," Ezinne admitted. "I was selfish and cruel. But the gods have punished me for my sins. My sons have brought me nothing but sorrow. I beg you, Adaeze, forgive me and let me call you my daughter once more." Adaeze's heart ached. She thought of Nneka, the woman who had loved her unconditionally, and the forest, which had sheltered her when her mother had not. Could she find it in herself to forgive this woman who had shown her no mercy? After a long silence, Adaeze spoke. "I have been blessed by the gods, not because of you, but despite you. Nneka is the one who gave me life, not through birth but through love. Still, I cannot ignore the pain that brought me to where I am today." She knelt beside Ezinne and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I forgive you, but forgiveness does not erase the past. If you truly wish to make amends, you must earn your place in my life. Show me that you have changed." Ezinne nodded fervently, tears of relief mixing with those of regret. From that day, Ezinne worked tirelessly to prove herself. Under Adaeze's guidance, she learned to tend to the sick, cultivate the land, and give back to the community. Adaeze, in turn, ensured that her mother was cared for, though she never forgot Nneka's role in her life. Years later, as Adaeze stood at the entrance of her grand home, now a beacon of hope for all who sought healing and wisdom, she reflected on her journey. The forest that had once threatened to claim her life had, instead, given her everything. She was no longer just Adaeze or Umuofia, the abandoned child. She was a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of love and forgiveness, and a reminder that destiny, no matter how uncertain, could always lead to greatness.